Mm-hmm.
And welcome in, everybody. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. We appreciate you all so much for joining us here for Belly Up Fantasy Live, the first show of the NFL season as preseason kickoff for the Hall of Fame game is roughly 48 hours away from the time of this recording. We won't see too many players that will be drafting in there. But we're here to give you everything you need from draft prep, research, going through your draft, setting your lineup, going through the waiver wire, and everything in between throughout the entire fantasy season. Don't mean to brag too much, but we have been told by some people to be the best fantasy and betting show on the entire internet. It might be me, I might be some people, but it still counts nonetheless. Today we're going to be talking about bets for win totals. We're going to talk about some training camp battles to watch out for, a new twist on college fantasy football, and all that and much more. But without further ado, let's go and get into the opening part of the show, which we're going to talk about some training camp battles to watch out for, some to keep an eye on as we go through the preseason and training camps. Let's go and start with the first battle I am looking at. The Broncos running back battle. That is going to be a very unique one going off in Mile High. You got RJ Harvey, everyone's diamond in the rough last year, who came on strong down the end. J.K. Dobbins, who's always elite during September until some random injury destroys part of his lower body. Then Jonah Coleman, outstanding young rookie who has turned a lot of heads in camps. It's a three-way battle. All three of them are going to be on the field. Sean Payton is kind of a jerk that way when it comes to fantasy football, in that he will play all of them at any given moment, and the one you're not playing is the one that's going to score the touchdowns. It's something to keep an eye on to see who's going to take that lead role. Is it going to be RJ Harvey, who's going to get most of them, or is he just going to be the passing down guy? It's going to be J.K. Dobbins kind of reestablishing himself as that top back before he went down with injury, or is Jonah Coleman going to come in and surprise everybody? Keep an eye on this running back battle and see how the carries distribution, things go like that, and the reports that come out of Mile High throughout the season. Let's look at the next battle that we want to watch. The Browns rookie receivers versus the vets. That team is going to be a catastrophe, almost guaranteed. The quarterback room is 33 out of 32. There's not a lot to like about it. What we do like, though, is Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston in the receiving room. Both of them have had really good starts to training camp. Casey Concepcion was outstanding in the open field at Texas A&M. Screens, bubble screens, short passes that he takes to the house, kick returns, punt returns, get him the ball in space, and he makes things happen. Denzel Boston, you leave him one-on-one. He's the type of receiver, more often than not, it's an 80-20 chance and a 50-50 chance. He's going to dunk on people. He's going to run clean routes. He's going to be very physical attacking the ball. There's not a whole lot else there in Cleveland that you love from the receiver room. Jerry Jeudy, unless Jameis Winston is throwing the ball against the Broncos on a Thursday, you don't necessarily love him consistently. Harold Fannin, really like a tight end, but you can't throw to the tight end every single play. And if you can, they will be the team to try it. But other than that, I want to see which one of these receivers really steps up and shows out. Maybe both end up taking those two starting receiver jobs. Keep an eye on that, because someone's got to get targets in Cleveland. They're going to be behind in a lot of games. That defense is definitely not stopping anybody. Now without Myles Garrett, there are going to be some opportunities for some of these guys to guess whether they're just getting force-fed or it's cheap points at the end of the game. Fantasy points are fantasy points. So keep an eye out on the Browns rookie receivers versus the vets. See which one of them takes a starting role, if not both of them, because they are both very highly rated sleepers later on in the draft. So keep an eye out for the Browns rookie receivers. The next training camp battle we're looking at, we're going to Pittsburgh. Rico Dowdle versus Jaylen Warren. Rico Dowdle is something else. That is all we have to say about it. He got to play for 3 minutes last year for a cup of coffee with Carolina when Chuba Hubbard was out, and he was top 5 in rushing for like a month afterwards. He is in Dallas. He was incredibly productive. It's still kind of weird that they got rid of him, but we digress on that one. It kind of worked out with Javonte Williams, but keep an eye on Rico Dowdle, Jaylen Warren, because the Steelers running backs are going to get in on the action. There's also Caleb Johnson from afar. Now that Mike Tomlin is out, maybe Caleb Johnson can be permitted to leave the doghouse. We'll see what Coach McCarthy thinks of him. However, keep an eye on the Steelers running back field, because the winner of this is going to get an awful lot of opportunities in the passing game. That's why Jaylen Warren has ascended up a lot of the ADPs. Aaron Rodgers is going to get that ball out of his hands before you have a chance to sneeze. I plead the fifth on why he doesn't want to get hit anymore, but he's going to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. He's not going to stand back there and take a lot of shots at the offensive line. Keep an eye out for the rookie battles, for the running back battles in Pittsburgh. Next up, let's go to Arizona, where I think it gets very, very interesting at quarterback. Jacoby Brissett will probably be the guy week 1. Carson Beck is going to start in the Hall of Fame game against Carolina. There's a lot of weapons there. There's a lot of opportunity there. A new play caller. We know what Trey McBride can do. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Jeremiah Love, and Tyler Algier, who's going to spite anyone who has Jeremiah Love. keep an eye on the quarterback battle, because if Jacoby Brissett stumbles at all, reports are that Carson Beck has looked awfully good. I think there's a chance he takes this job by week 8. Then it gets very interesting, especially for a team that is ethically tanking in a way. They're not winning games is not the concern for this year. The question will be, can Carson Beck take that job, or are they going to draft the guy next year? So keep an eye out for this QB battle during training camp, because it can also affect all of those other players you're going to take earlier in the draft, such as a Trey McBride, a Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, etc. And the obvious one, the last but not least, where that's very clear, J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray, arguably the biggest quote-unquote training camp battle that is very well established here in summer months. Whoever wins this one, it depends on if it is Kyler Murray, more people are likely to take him. I've said I think he has a chance to be the top sleeper quarterback this year if he does take the job, which if it's really a competition, then that's a little concerning, but I'm presuming it's a formality of a competition / they're just waiting for anything to happen. But it gives you a chance to sleeper quarterback, and look at all the receivers they have there that you'd want to draft. Justin Jefferson, always early on. Are you going to want to take him if Nine's back at quarterback? You're going to be a lot more reluctant. Same with Juwan Jennings, could have been Super Bowl MVP. You're going to be a little bit less likely to feed him in that case. And Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, TJ Hawkinson. This one is probably the biggest battle so far of the season, as we wait and see who's going to be the one getting the ball to all these guys, who Kevin O'Connell is going to trust with his offense. So keep an eye out for these and many, many more training camp battles before you make your fantasy drafts, or be aware of them as you get ready to go into your drafts, as some of them, they'll still be going on actively while you're going. But without further ado, we've gotten the training camp battles. Let's kind of pivot a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the world of sports gambling. And joining me for that one, we do have Brian Germano for Brian's Best Bets. Is we're going to be talking about gambling. And Brian, we don't have a whole lot that we're going to focus on as far as props or who's going to win the game, etc., because, well, it's too early for that. But what we are going to do is
we'll talk baseball, but that's not this show.
Not this time. But what we are going to do, though, is we're going to talk about win totals, because a lot of win totals are set. We're going to get a little bit greedy. Which ones? We're going to go overs, unders for each team. We're going to just do the AFC today. We won't be here for 50 minutes. We'll focus on the AFC. You'll tell me what you like about you'll tell me if you're taking the over or the under, and you're going to tell me if you will actually bet it per se. So let's go ahead and get ready before we get into it. Let me just ask you really quickly. How do you feel about your Giants? So before we get into it, tell me, how do you feel about the Giants? Do you think they're next week? You don't have to tell me the over under, but how are you feeling so far? The reports have been good.
I'm feeling weirdly confident. Like, it's good we have Harbaugh, an actual adult in the room, build the culture with the team. A lot of young talent on this team. Not playoffs yet, but I think we're going to be a really scrappy team, probably somewhere between like a 7 or 9 win total for us.
All right, I like it. As someone who drafted Malik Neighbors, I sure hope so, because he looks awfully good so far. Let's hope it stays.
Yeah, and he looks good, so let's hope it stays that way.
That's knocking on wood. But let's go ahead and get rolling. We're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to roll down this in alphabetical order. As you can see, they are set at 11.5 for the over-under. Very high for a team that missed the playoffs last year. Brian, we buying the bounce back with the payday for Zay, or we dip it under?
I'm dipping under. Look, I think the Ravens are going to be a playoff team. I think they will bounce back, but 12 wins is an awful lot, especially with a team that lost Isaiah Likely, lost Tyler Lindenbaum. Those are 2 big parts of their offense. Derrick Henry's only getting older. I know we all like to talk about how he's indestructible, but that running style will catch up to him. And plus, this is Jesse Minter's first season as head coach. I know we all like to talk about how great of a coordinator he was, but coordinators don't always translate. There will be growing pains. So while I think the Ravens team's going to be good, to bet 12 wins, that's just too much for me.
That's a little rich for my blood as well. While if they pull it off, I could see it, but I'm going to pass on that one as well. Let's go and roll up next. Speaking of teams that win a lot of games perennially, the Buffalo Bills set at 10.5. So a team that's won 11 or more games for, I think, the last 6 years. Do they finally dip under, or do we see the over?
I think we will see the over here. Like, I don't want to bet against Josh Allen. I know the schedule is a little harder this year. I'm trying to find exactly where they are on the schedule. I pull it up right. I have it pulled up. It builds the 25th schedule. It's turned to schedule, so that would be the 7th hardest schedule. I do think they win. They had Josh Allen. They added DJ Moore. I know Joe Brady is a question mark, but I think the Bills get it done. I think they get like 11 wins.
You know, that makes sense. The question I forgot to ask for the Ravens and for this one too is: are either one of these ones that you will be putting money on? Are these the best bets for Brian so far?
So I will be betting the Ravens one. I won't be betting the Bills ones, because the Bills I'm so torn with. I don't want to bet against Josh Allen because you're stupid to do so, but it's just There's so many question marks. I just hate the Joe Brady hire. I really do.
I like it for James Cook. That's where I like it the most for it. I'm
Yeah,
very curious
I
to
just
see
always felt that Brady is being like, he's being built up because he was the coordinator for LSU in 2019. He's riding that. So, and like, good on him for riding that. But it's just, at what point do we realize he's not that great?
I'm going to be very curious to see how he balances now as head coach with all those duties as well. I'm excited to see DJ Moore in that offense. I'm very
Oh,
excited.
DJ Moore, I think he's having a great season this year.
Fantasy tip early. If anyone hadn't seen the short on it that we made, draft DJ Moore if you can, but not before me. Let me get him. But if you don't have him, if I'm not in that league, go ahead and get him. Let's move on now to Cincinnati Bengals. Perennially, because when you have Joe Burrow, you're going to have a high over-under win total. They have not hit it since 2022, I believe. They've been. So will this be the year they break the streak at 10.5 over-under, or will we continue to see them go under?
I think they're going over this year. I do. Listen, if Joe Burrow stays healthy, they have one of the best offenses in the league with that receiving core and Chase Brown in the backfield. Their big problem for years has been defense, but they brought in Dexter Lawrence. They brought in Boy Maffey. That is a good defensive line right there. And they also have the third easiest schedule in football. I think we see the Bengals make a run at the AFC North this year, and I'm also definitely going to bet this one.
Absolutely. I love what they did defensively as well. DJ Turner has really blossomed to a really good corner despite everything going on around him. And it's also one thing to note that I think will be a big factor for them as well. We mentioned Joe Burrow, the offense. I think Chase Brown getting involved is going to help them out a lot. Just the ability to get the ball, get him involved underneath. So he's not sitting back there waiting to throw it to Jamar T out there somewhere. So it's not just 1, 2, 3 fade route every single play. I look forward to seeing how the Zach Taylor's still an issue, but I digress. That's not changing. But let's stay in the state of Ohio.
He can go over that, so
exactly. Exactly. Let's stay in the state of Ohio. The Cleveland Browns, for the first time since 2017 without Myles Garrett, set it up a surprisingly high, 5.5 points. So do they go over 5.5, or is it Arch Manning season in Cleveland?
I think they'll go over. I'm not confident I'm going to bet, but they have the easiest schedule in all of football. Like, even with their quarterback concerns, I love Casey Concepcion. I think he's having a big year. I like that. I like Quinshon Judkins. I think that offense is good enough that they will sneak in some wins they probably shouldn't.
Which will be all of them. I think any single win they get will be ones they shouldn't. But there's definitely a path there for sure. Let's move on now to one of last year's surprise teams, the number 1 seed, the Denver Broncos, not getting nearly as much love this year. I don't know if it's Bo Nix's ankle or just they're a regression candidate. Set at 9.5. Do we see a mile high letdown, or do they once again win double-digit games for the third straight year?
Bronco fans are going to love me. They're going over. I love this Broncos team. That defense is one of the best in football with Sean Payton, their coach. They should be good. I know Bo Nix was inconsistent last year, and as of someone that had him in fantasy, one of the more frustrating players to deal with. But bringing in Jaden Waddle, you just need that offense to be average, and that defense will win you the game. And also, out of all the AFC West teams, the Broncos are the ones I have like the least question marks about. So I think the Broncos will kind of take control of that division and go over 9.5 wins.
Yeah, and you know what? They're the most recent AFC West team to win a playoff game, which in a division that features Patrick Mahomes, you never thought you would say, but that's where we're at right now. The Bo Nix experience is a coined phrase by the High Low Sports Podcast Incorporated, too, just so anyone's aware. The Bo Nix roller coaster has been coined since 2019. Like, it has been trademarked. Moving on now, let's go to the Houston Texans. Speaking of one of the best defenses in football, also set at 9.5 does Stroud get plowed, or do we get a Stroud payday, depending on what happens this year? 9.5 over, under?
I'm going over because how can you bet against that defense? They had the 7th easiest schedule in all of football. You just need Stroud to play average. I don't think we'll ever see CJ Stroud perform like he did his rookie season. But if you can just be a game manager, like I said with the Broncos, the Texans will win.
What I think is very interesting, too, is even though that division is tough with Jacksonville, kind of the Colts, and maybe this frisky Titans, that they always just do well in that division. Even when the division's good, they beat them up. When they're bad, they beat them up. Like they take care of what they need to take care of regardless. And I like the Dave Montgomery addition. I think even with a average-ish offensive line, the way he runs, he's going straight. So you don't need to really do anything dramatic blocking. It's just kind of move him a little bit. And David Montgomery is going to go right into him. So I like that one as well. I think they're going to win the division again this year. Speaking of that division, though, let's go to a team that frustrates me as much as anybody, the Indianapolis Colts. After starting 8-2, they finished 8-9. Now they're set at 7.5, so not a whole lot of faith. So, Brian, does your boy Daniel Jones lead them over, under, or just right?
Don't hate me. They're going under. I just cannot trust Daniel Jones. And I know people are going to blame the fall off last year on his injuries. He was starting to taper off right around the time that he got hurt. Like, I know it happened right before the injuries, but his stats were starting to decline. The Colts last year remind me so much of the 2022 Giants, an offense that's relied so heavily on the run game. I don't think that can stay this year. The wide receiver I have some question with, I'm going under.
I also want to throw into they set this at 7.5 on purpose because they know the Colts are going to accidentally stumble into 7 or 8 wins. It all depends on if Jacksonville plays their guys in week 18 or not. That's what it's really going to come down to. That I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know Daniel Jones is cleared and looks good in camp, but everyone looks good in camp, and anyone who doesn't ends up having an MVP season. We know how that works. But you just lost your top receiver, and the one you paid to keep hasn't practiced yet, and your defense is a mess. It's not. I agree. It's not looking good in Indianapolis, which means they will find a way to win 8 games to make us wrong for the bet, but still disappoint their fans.
Will Phil Rivers come back this year? Can I bet on that? I would love Phil Rivers to come back.
Don't tease me with a good time now. That was the happiest I've been. Actually, it was the happiest I've been, but that's the problem. Let's go to a very weird one here. Jacksonville Jaguars, 13 wins last year. Arguably was a dark horse favorite to get to the Super Bowl if they would have got past the Bills. Set at 8.5. I'm going to leave this one at 2. How do you feel about this one?
This is tough because the Jaguars are going to regress, but I will give them a slight over. I think they'll win like 9 games. I think Liam Cohen has unlocked something in Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll have another good season. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but they'll be scrappy for a wild card spot.
It's funny. They can regress about 25% and still win 10 games. Or I think that's 9.75 games. Oh no, you regressed a quarter of the way and you're still better than the Colts and many other teams. They have a very high regression potential to still be good. And I will stand by it. The fantasy community is catching up with me 360 days later. Basil Tootin season. It is time. I went on the tirade about it last year during our live belly up draft when I drafted him way too high for last year. But this year it comes to fruition. So Jacksonville is going to be frisky. I'm very interested to see how they perform. All right, let's go. Let's get the polarizing ones underway now. Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. He's jumping. He's dancing at weddings. He's frolicking after missing passes in training camp. He is all the way back, even with that bulky knee. 10.5 is the number, though. Do they get over 10.5 and back to Kansas City form, or was last year just a prelude to what's to come?
Look, I know I said I don't like betting against MVP quarterbacks, Josh Allen, but something fishy is going on with Patrick Mahomes. How can you tear your ACL at November, right? And get back to jump around like this? I don't trust that knee. Kenneth Walker cashed in on a really good playoffs. I think they go under. That Chiefs team is regressed year in and year out. I think they'll go under. Like I said, they'll probably have a very similar season they did last year. Scrappy, but I think they won't get touch double digits.
What I will say is if their entire offense is dependent on Rashee Rice not being in jail or being healthy, they're going to be in some serious trouble. So I hope
that's a big problem.
I hope there's a plan B. As long as there's a plan B, I think there's a chance.
Well, their plan B for years was Travis Kelcey, but he seems more interested in podcasting and being with Taylor Swift. So
I don't blame him. He might be onto something. Honestly,
I was going to say we have half it there. We're halfway there.
Yeah, I saw Derwin James throw him into the sky not even 1,000 days ago. That definitely hurt. So I don't blame him one bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams that Travis Kelce loves and has explicitly said he loves to play, Las Vegas Raiders, talking about revamping their entire team. New head coach, new rookie quarterback, new veteran quarterback, new everything besides receivers and tight end, basically. Spent all that money on defense you possibly could, and then you got Max Crosby back out of it all. Over under 5.5 for the worst team in the league last year, Raiders.
Look, the Raiders have a tough schedule this year. I believe it's 26, which is one of the hardest in football. But I don't know. I like something about this Raiders team. I think, having Clint Kubiak as your head coach, that offense is going to improve. I love Gentry and Bowers for bounce back candidate. They revamped the offensive line, bringing Linderbaum. I think they're going to be scrappy and go over. I think 6 it's going to be 6, but I think they're over 5 wins. They're out of the basement.
What I think is interesting with them is I could see them really going 0-6 in that division because it's brutal, but still winning 6 games because they defeat everybody else. But they can't deal with those monsters that are close by.
like I've talked with my friends, like they're like a top heavy team. Like you see the names, you're like, wait a minute, there's serious talent here. It's just when you get off that like top like 12 or 13 guys, it's a drop off.
It gets really steep really quick. And I do like I like Linderbaum in there to help out the run game and to the quarterback, whether it's the old guy that can't move or the young guy who's still learning. But how do you feel about this one, though? We haven't touched on it in a while. Is this one of them that you're putting money on, or are we still sticking with just the Ravens and the Bengals for money so far?
So for money so far, Ravens and Bengals and Broncos is what I'm going money with.
Broncos.
I don't want to touch the Raiders. I would love to because I really do like what the Raiders are building. And I think in like a year or two, they're going to be a force in the AFC, but not yet. Not yet.
Well, according to Kelcey, Kirk O'Chains is going to make them a force for the 3.5 games that he is available to go next year. So we'll keep an eye on them for sure. We're sticking in the AFC West. I appreciate the alphabetical orderness of all of these AFC West teams for us. The Los Angeles Justin Herbert and Madison Beers set at 9.5 wins after another strong season last year that ended very disappointingly. Do they get to double digits again for, I believe, the third time in the Harbaugh era, or is it going to be a rough one for the newly engaged couple?
I think they do. And if the Chargers have a healthy offensive line in that New England game, they win. If even just Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt, not even both, just one of them are in that game, give Herbert just an extra second, they probably win that game. With a healthy offensive line and McDaniels as OC, I think we're going to see Justin Herbert have an insane year. He might be a dark horse for MVP. I think the Chargers go over.
I also love what O'Marion Hampton's going to do in that because every time Mike McDaniel is an OC or calling plays, a running back does well. I mean, Raheem Mostert, fresh before going to the retirement home, scored 19 touchdowns in a year, right before Devon Achane fully took over. I will agree. I'm worried, though. Rashawn Slater did go to the medical tent today. He's fine. He was still watching practice, but it's already begun, and we are barely in August. So I'm a little worried.
As long as you have one of Alt or Slater, they should be fine. As long as they're not running out like, the Costco greeters out there.
As long as this show doesn't end up being like 3/5 of the offensive line by the end of it. As long as they don't have me playing left guard, I think we'll be okay. I might be a little bit light in the britches to play left guard, but I'll try. I'll do my best. But let's move on now to the Miami Dolphins. Speaking of ethically tanking, they are not hiding it. They are doing it clearly. They're not trying to BS anybody. They're not sitting guys. They're just getting rid of everybody and paying them to go away. They're paying more to players not on their roster than players on their roster this year. 4.5. Does Malik Willis get them over that, or is it Arch Manning, Dante Moore? Come on down.
Look, I love Jeff Hafley. Me and him are both Siena alums. I don't want to bet against a former alumni, but I am going under. I have so many questions with this Miami offense. Like, basically, this is going to be a run-first team. Like, Devon Achane and what else? Malik Willis looked good for the Packers, but it was only in, like, a couple games. Are we really sure he's capable of being an NFL starting quarterback yet? I don't know. So, too many questions with the Dolphins. I think they're going to get beat up on this year. They're going for Arch.
What's weird about the Dolphins when I look at them, too, is Jeff Hafley was with Green Bay, so he clearly saw Malik Willis more than anybody else and liked him enough to give him money. What still freaks me out, though, is during his time in Green Bay while playing, I don't know the exact stat, so if I'm slightly wrong, I'm sorry, everybody. But he only threw like 32 true drop back passes his entire tenure there. Most of it was an RPO or a play action or something like that. So that does worry me. But best case scenario for the Dolphins is they win 2 games, but Malik Willis looks like Joe Burrow the whole time. Then you could just take Jeremiah Smith and good luck everybody else.
Pretty much.
We know that.
And I'm putting money on this too. I'll put money on the under. I think the Dolphins are just the offense will not be able to move the football next year.
Their best 2 offensive skill players are 5'7" and 5'6" outside of the quarterback. Normally, this is not an anti-height show, but that gives me a little bit of cause concern. And none of them are Hunter Renfrow, so that worries me.
Yep.
Let's now go on to the New England Patriots, the surprise team of last year, winning 13 games, easiest schedule in literally the millennium, set at 10.5 with a much harder schedule. Was last year a fluke, or are they back?
I think the Patriots are going to be a good team. I think they're a playoff team, but I think I'll go under 10.5. I think they'll hit like around 10 wins. You will see some regression, but I think Drake May will be fine. A.J. Brown's a huge addition for them. I think the old line's going to get better because I know Will Campbell had a horrible Super Bowl. He was playing hurt. When he was healthy, he was fine last year. I'm excited to see maybe Trey Hendrickson is allowed to run the football next year, hopefully. So
this is a Ramondre Stevenson team. I don't know what you're talking about. Travion Henderson does not get to run the ball when you draft him. That's not how this works. Only when you trade him.
Oh, we may trade him? All right.
But that is fair for sure. I think they could be weird because they were so good last year. They could actually get better, but the record will regress. Like, it's going to be very hard to follow up what you did last year. And I got to imagine that Mike Vrabel shenanigans has to have some kind of impact. I'm not saying it's a huge deal, but when your coach is making more headlines than anything else and your running back Travion Henderson is tweeting Bible verses, something's got to give. So I feel like they're going to be under 13 wins.
DJ, he brought a dog to the press conference. We're all good. We're all trying about a dog now. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like when they bring the kids to the press conference after shooting 2 of 19 or something like that. It's like, you know
exactly.
What you're doing. You're not slick. We're on to you. Like, I'm onto this game. You can't fool me. Let's move on now to, all right, speaking of you can't fool me, they're not fooling me anytime soon. I know Aaron Rodgers went there, and multiple years they were picked to go to the Super Bowl. New York Football Jets, 5.5. Geno Smith, Omar Cooper, a really good draft, new quarterback. Aaron Glenn's on the boiling hot seat. How are we feeling about the Jets?
Yeah, they're going under. I love the Jets had a good draft. They do have good talent, but bringing in a washed Geno Smith, like when Geno Smith was young, he wasn't good for the Jets. Now we're expecting him to play well when he's had a horrible season in Vegas. I don't like this. I don't like Aaron Glenn as a head coach. I'm done.
You know, that's fair. I worry about them. I'm sorry, Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry, man. You don't deserve this.
I feel
please,
you don't deserve. Can we trade him? Please send him somewhere.
Like you'll wipe away the tears with your millions. You'll be fine. But I'm sorry. Like, you don't deserve that. Like, get sent to a real team with a real quarterback like Daniel Jones. Let's look at the Pittsburgh Steelers now. We'll go into this Pennsylvania. 8.5. Aaron Rodgers has returned. He is not pleading the fifth. He has stated he will be back. Michael Pittman Jr. added in the offseason. Rico Dowdle, as we mentioned earlier. Interesting set of weapons, improving offensive line, the most expensive defense in the NFL once again. Over or under for the Steelers at 8.5. No longer the Mike Tomlin guaranteed 500.
Well, see, that's the problem is they fired Mike Tomlin and they brought in a worse version of Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy. So I love the Steelers defense. Rodgers scares me getting older. I would like their offense, but I think they're going under. I think they're like a 7-10 team.
I also worry about health too. Like, the running backs are older. DK Metcalf, you can't keep getting away with eating that much candy and nothing else. Like, there's a lot to worry about there. TJ Watt's 1,000 years old. They did just get rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick as well. I do like Joey Porter Jr., but as we know, one corner does not save your entire season. Side eye at a handful of teams, but moving on. Let's move on to the last, but certainly not least of the AFC. Well, they might be the least, actually. The Tennessee Titans, after drafting Carnell Tate early on, now set at 6.5 wins. Does Cam Ward get a little bit over the hump, or is it going to be another rough one for him?
You know, this might surprise people. I'm going with the over, and I'm putting money on this. Look, I love this new coaching staff in Tennessee. Robert Sala's got to prove it to me first. Like, he was kind of a roller coaster with the Jets, but it does seem like there's a lot of ownership interference, so I think having maybe more of a hands-off owner will help him. But I love Dable as OC. I don't like Dable, the head coach, but I think OC will create an offense around Cam Ward that will, expand his talents. Plus, Cam Ward has a real wide receiver one in Carnell Tate this year. How many times have we seen a young quarterback be paired up with a true wide receiver one and then take that next step? They have a revamped defensive line, and they also have the 8th easiest schedule in football. I think the Titans are going to be scrappy, and we'll have a lot of positives this season. A good step in the right direction.
Absolutely. I also still like Alec Ayamanor. I really like bringing Wan'Dale Robinson. We know Brian Daboll. Nobody's going to outbid him for Wan'Dale Robinson on the market. He's going to catch 300 passes in the month of September alone. He is going to get force-fed, and Cam Ward will not get hit again because when in doubt, it will be a quick screen. So we now have 5 monies that you are putting on here. We got the Ravens under, the Bengals over, the Broncos over, the Dolphins under, and the Titans over. So, Brian, how are we feeling about that? That feels pretty good. That sounds like a winning parlay. We should tell the people.
That sounds like a winning parlay to me. I feel, of course, bet responsibly, but I feel very confident in those picks.
Absolutely. Only bet what you can afford to lose. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. If at any point you feel like you have doubts or you need any help, there is a hotline there to help you. Bet smarter, not harder. Only bet what you can afford to lose. Brian, go ahead and let everybody know really quickly where they can find you when you're not dropping the gambling knowledge here on Belly Up Fantasy Live.
Yeah, so best place to find me is Brian Peachy 1016 on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. 3010 podcast I do with my co-host Nate, mostly Giants football, but just NFL in general. We dropped a show today. And then Flushing Faithfuls podcast I do about the New York Mets. Just dropped the podcast recapping the Mets trade deadline.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Be sure to tune in every week for Brian's best bets as we get into the season. He'll give you some weekly bets to keep an eye on. And next week, we'll be doing the NFC. So we'll get to talk about his own Giants as well as plenty of other teams. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And next up, we're going to transition now from gambling. We're going to get back into fantasy, but with a twist. We're going to talk about college football fantasy for the first time, at least that I can remember. It is official. We will have college football fantasy, but it's different than the NFL. It's a whole different ball game. You can't follow the same rules, and to help us break it down, we have co-host of the High Low Sports podcast, as well as future host of several other shows. We got Kelcey in here to describe to us what you should look for with the college fantasy season coming up.
Yeah, man. Look, hey, I'm still struggling with what to call it. Right? It's college fantasy football, college football fantasy, because what it's college football. We know it's college football, but what do we call it? Fantasy football, college? I don't know. I'm still struggling with that. We'll come up with something, right? Belly up college fantasy. I don't know.
NILCAA, I guess.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Something like that.
Pay me money, give me some fantasy football knowledge. I guess that's what we're gonna do. But no, yeah, look, there's a lot of differences between college fantasy football than there is for the NFL. Specifically, there's 3 things that I really think people should get to know first before we really dive into anything. And that's because they matter for your draft. They matter how you draft, because we know a lot of things about the NFL, but do we know a lot of things about how college football is going to work out? Because if nobody knows, here's the rules. It's done by Yahoo. And on top of that, it's only the Power 4 plus Notre Dame. So it's very important that you focus on that Power 4 plus Notre Dame. And that's going to play into what I have to say about a lot of this. So we'll go ahead and pull up these beautiful little instructional cards I got for you guys here. So like I said, these are the 3 things you need to know before your college fantasy draft. Hector, thank you. First up, you got to know the top positions. Now, we all know in NFL, when it comes to fantasy football, your running back and your receivers are your top 2 guys. Those are who you waste your top 4 rounds on most times, unless you get a lucky Josh Allen in the 2nd or 3rd round, in which case, hey, I'm going to take him. In college, it is the not complete opposite. You don't worry about receivers. That's the important thing. You worry about your quarterbacks, you worry about your running backs. The biggest reason why is the receivers are so poorly depth. There's not enough depth when it comes to receivers. You got your top 2 guys in Tony and Jeremiah Smith, and then you got a bunch of guys that can do well, Cam Coleman being one of them. But after that, you really struggle. Whereas running backs, there's so many different ways that a running back can excel, and especially within Power 4 conferences. They can be a straight run heavy team. They can be an option team. They can be a pass catching running back who can mix in some downhill running. And then you add the quarterback, who in college football is a lot more useful with his feet. You get quarterbacks who are useful with their feet, quarterbacks that are useful with their arms. You get a 200 day from a quarterback, you just blew out the water anything that you can do from an NFL quarterback. But there are some problems, DJ. And it is running back platoons. Man, running back platoons will be the thing that kills you. OCs who shut it down late. And I need to pull the sign down for this one, because we got to talk about this one. OCs that shut the game down late. And there are not many of them, but they are part of the top 25 regularly, which is crazy to think, because the playoffs matter for a lot of these teams. The showcase points matter for these teams. So that does mean something. You can't lose. You definitely can't lose, but you can't win by a little. You have to win by a lot. But once you're up, you just need to finish the game off. And that's where the OC is shutting it down early. So be careful with that. Oklahoma being a big target of that. Ohio State does that a lot. Georgia. Well, we'll talk about Georgia a little bit in a second too. But Alabama, these teams do that regularly. So the teams that you would expect to finish in the top 5 of the college football playoffs are the same teams that you have to worry about your quarterbacks or your running backs having to shut it down early. It works well for running backs. It does not work well if you go draft a quarterback. So keep that in mind.
Bring back BCS. BCS would never allow this.
There's one more thing that you need to know about these 2 positions, and that is quarterbacks in run-first schemes. I'm specifically talking about teams like Georgia. Stetson Bennett is not going to be a top-tier quarterback when it comes to fantasy. However, he will be part of a team whose offense will be very dominant, and if you get points for time of possession, which I haven't seen a lot of leagues do that. Look, I'm going to get to that. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're getting to that later. We got to start with the top first, though. But the kickers, man, it is one of those things you have to be focused. Sorry, quarterbacks is one of those things you have to be focused on how much that team actually runs. And it is very important, because Power 4 teams, they generally have a decent split, 50-50, but there are a lot of run-first teams, among them being Georgia. But then beyond that, you're talking about Florida States and then Utahs. And there are some other conversations about some other teams, Iowa being there. So you got to be very careful when it comes to that, getting a quarterback for a run-first team, even though they're a good team. So that's going to come into a lot of play for your strategy. Now, second thing you need to watch out for. I know that was a lot for one. Strength of schedule will matter. Teams with a lower strength of schedule have a greater chance to go off offensively. No duh. However, it does make top 25 matchups and major rivalries a risky start for your fantasy team. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about that Texas-Ohio State matchup. I'm talking about any time an SEC school matches against another SEC school. They're not high-scoring games. They're not going to be a lot of yardage games. Very rarely do you see that unless it's a team playing a Kentucky or Arkansas on a down year. You very rarely see a high-scoring game in the SEC. It means I'm not playing anybody that's playing in the big game. I'm also not playing anybody that's playing Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. That's not happening. There are so many rivalries, BYU, Utah. I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole. And it has to be a thing week in and week out that you have to be aware of, which means there's going to be a lot more churn on your roster than you might see in a regular NFL fantasy season. I don't expect to end my season with more than 50% of my starters. I think that's where I'm going to be at this college football season because it's going to have to change so much because of where you have to be aware of the scheduling. And that's wild, right? Like, we don't do that normally. I usually set it, forget it. I go get my top 2 running backs. I set it and forget it in the NFL. I don't need to go worry about that. I'm going to probably go through 10 running backs in 2 weeks. Like, that's just kind of how it's going to be. And then your last one, though, the offense position. And this is where it gets different from the NFL. There is a complete offense position, just like you have defense, special teams. But this is just for the offense. It scores very similarly to a quarterback scoring. You get 5 points for every 25 yards, or 1 point for every 25 yards, and then points for total points scored. Top-ranked teams do not guarantee a good offense. So last year, for example, only 2 teams that are in the Power 4 were in the top 25 at the end of the season for the best offenses in the top 5. The other 3 were non-Power 5 team or non-Power 4 teams, and then one of the 4 teams was Utah. Nobody's going to think that, but don't be fooled because a team is in the top 10. And it's important to note that because guess who was in that? Florida State was a top 6 offense last year, not even in the top 25 at the end of the season. Utah, 15th at the end of the season, was 5th in the best offenses. North Texas, number one offense overall, not a Power 4 school. So you're gonna get a lot of players. Like I said, I'm gonna use Georgia as the stereotype for a lot of these because they fit the things you need to be afraid of with fantasy. They're a very good team. They get a lot of wins. They don't score a lot offensively because they have a really good defense. Does that mean, yes, go get a defense from them? Probably. Yes. Yeah. Does it mean go get an offensive player? Maybe a running back, not so much a quarterback, not so much a receiver. And again, that's Kirby Smart's offense. That's how he loves his offenses. They're smooth, efficient, do not turn the ball over. You know, Brian mentioned a game manager for CJ Stroud in Houston. And I think that's the important thing to note. In college, you do not want to have game managers on your fantasy football roster. But Kirby Smart loves his game managers to run his offense. So very scary thought here. There's also going to be a lot of rookies that come into play here that are a lot of freshmen that are going to be wild cards. You're not going to know they're going to be ready until week 3, really. So yeah, there's a lot of weird things about college football, college fantasy football, and we're going to talk about them as we lead up into the season. We'll cover the draft when we get our creator league going and we get that going. That is going to be right before the season kicks off. So we'll have that as well covered. But yeah, it's a lot of weird things that are going to be happening in college football for sure.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it because there's going to be the obvious guys that go early. Like you think Jeremiah Smith, for example, guys like that, they're going to draft early. Rightfully so. Outstanding. But there are those games where they're just going to put 3 guys on them and say good luck, and you have to deal with it. Or the games where they're up 21-3 in 14.5 seconds and they don't throw the ball again. So it's got to be. It's not like your stereotypical NFL fantasy. I'm excited for it. It's going to be chaos, and I'm going to be so pissed multiple weeks. I can already feel it.
Yeah, and you're going to be looking at matchups, right? Like those are the things. Like how's your free agency set up? Because how am I going to outbid somebody with a lower waiver wire or a better FAB than what I have when it's like I want to get Julian Sand going against some scrub, or I want to get Alabama going against Chattanooga. Like I want to do that, and then I'm going to have to deal with the waiver wire. So it's all a chess game you're going to be playing week in and week out. I did want to address this though because it did get asked, so let's talk about it. Right, kickers suck in college football, and I'm not going to be that. Lou Groza award winners. If you pull up the watch list, those are the kickers you need to go get if you have kickers. So, spoiler alert for when we do our belly up fantasy, we do have a kicker role in there because I literally have a signed kicker jersey next to me. Why would I not put that in our league? So we're going to all be struggling trying to find a kicker week in and week out. I do know one thing though, avoid Alabama kickers at all costs and Florida State kickers. Don't do that either.
Don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. But before we let you get out of here, there will be plenty more college fantasy football to watch throughout the year, and you'll be joining us along for the ride, giving us all we need to know, watching the waiver wires, helping us guide the absolute chaos that is going to be. Let everyone know where they can find you when you're not here dropping college fantasy football knowledge.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you can find me at the High Low Sports Podcast with DJ, usually talking all our smack. It's a lot of fun. We do talk about the highs and lows of sports world. You can see this at High Low Sports on all social medias and on X at high_low_sports. And then starting this season, we'll be having a college football show weekly in the football season, as well as an NFL show. And I'll be hosting both of those, along with a great cast of team members from the Belly Up Sports community that will be joining me on these shows. We're working on setting the rosters in stone, but that will be coming soon. We will be looking at that to kick off at the beginning of the season for the very first games for both of them. So that means August 22nd for college football, and that means week 1, Wednesday night kickoffs coming in for NFL. So it'll be a lot of fun coming up. But yeah, stay tuned for all that. You can see me all across all of Belly Up Sports, checking in for all different shows all over the place.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting. Kelcey, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll want to see you again on the High Low Sports Podcast here very, very shortly as well. So
yeah, man.
That's going to wrap up now for college fantasy football. Now we're going to talk about the last part of the show here too. There will be normal as the season gets going. We will have starts, sits, waiver wires, everything that you come to know and love. But for now, since we haven't even had a kickoff for the Hall of Fame game yet, we're gonna to just talk about these things. But the last part of the show is going to be the fantasy mailbag, where we answer all of your questions. We have one question on Twitter right here. I'm going to share. Does Zay getting paid make you more likely or less likely to draft him now that he is the fourth richest receiver in the NFL after that huge payday? Me personally, I am still going to run away with it. I am still going to draft him, and I am going to not think twice about it. If I can get him in that 3rd round spot, I will grab him, and I will smile the entire time, and I will laugh at everyone's face for letting me get it. In that offense with Declan Doyle calling the plays, who comes from the Ben Johnson tree, and we saw what Ben Johnson did with Jarvis Landry, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Everyone's projecting with Luther Burden. The smaller Z slot type receivers they can line up inside with multiple way goes that they can have completely toast people in space. He fits that mold to a T. If he is healthy and Lamar's healthy, he's going for over 100 yards, over 1,200 touchdowns, or 1,200 yards. If he gets 1,200 touchdowns, we got a broken problem. 1,200 yards and 8+ touchdowns. He's going to have a breakaway. So that's my thoughts on Zay Flowers. Be sure to draft him if you can. That's the fantasy mailbag. Be sure to send any questions you have for fantasy to the Belly Ups Fantasy and Gaming Facebook, Twitter, Instagram page. Comment on this video below or message us at High Low Sports or Belly Up Sports, and we'll be sure to get you featured on our next one. Mark Andrews' return. We'll get one quickly out of here for Kelcey. I'm surprised it's not a kicker question. But Mark Andrews, tight end, your second tight end, he's awesome. If he's your starting tight end, I hope your receivers are outstanding. I think he's going to be solid, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a drop. I think Isaiah Likely might outscore him this year, which might not be an insult. Isaiah Likely might be that dude. Keep an eye on it. But we appreciate y'all so much for joining us. We'll see you all again next week. But before I let you go, one last spoiler. Be sure to keep an eye out. In a couple of weeks, we will have the Belly Up Sports Fantasy Football Live Draft. All members of Belly Up Sports drafting live, joining us to talk about their picks, what they're thinking, and what their strategy is, with the winner getting a prize to be announced later on, a prize you won't want to miss. There will be more than just bragging rights on the line. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us, and we'll see you all again next time.